I do have some breaking news.
Oh.
The moon papers have been released.
Da, 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 da. What was the answer?
You can go to twitter.com and search hashtag release the moon papers to get the full story. I just want to put that in there that they've been released. I feel like if I just say the answer, it's not going to be as rewarding as going through and reading the journey. So go read all my tweets about the moon papers and see the conclusion to that story.
Welcome to Double Issue. My name's Daniel.
And I'm Quinn.
And this is a Q&A episode. Quentin's and ancillary discussions.
Mm-hmm. You wrote answers to all these questions beforehand, and you couldn't come up with a Q&A joke.
What Q&A joke you got?
I didn't write out the answers to all the questions.
Oh, what?
I did zero prep, so these can be all off the top of the dome.
Oh man, you don't want that for me. I'll sit here for 20 minutes thinking about it, like I did when I made you sit here for 20 minutes.
Instead, you'll pontificate for 20 minutes.
I will.
Well, I'll have one sentence to say for each of them.
I just made quick notes. They're not, in depth.
Yeah. So this is kind of our 1 year celebration.
Woo!
That's what it was planned for.
Yeah, because we took a little break there. And getting back into things.
Yeah. I didn't want to, I mentioned the break on the introductory note for the previous episode, but I didn't really want to get into it there because it didn't seem like I should do that at the beginning of an episode. But my mom died in January, and I took a little bit of time off from the show. Is part of it. And Daniel did a couple of solo episodes to fill the gap. And then we probably should have been back sooner, but laziness after that.
Well, I should have done a better job keeping up. I felt really bad because I missed one deadline. I was like, that's fine. I'll just get it the next week.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I missed 2 deadlines, I was out of practice.
Yeah. The episode, the I think is our best episode, should have come out the Monday before my mom passed away, but I was taking longer than normal to edit it because I'm a procrastinator all the time.
Yeah.
And then after that, the episode was half edited for several months before I finished it. But I'm really proud of how it came out. It's one of my favorite episode we've done.
No, that episode's really good. It's amazing.
Games are good, actually.
They are.
Do we want to do any catching up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, man, so the time that I should have spent writing, I mostly spent catching up on media, which is my excuse. So I watched and read a lot. Give
me the cliffest of notes so we don't get into everything.
Welcome to our bonus cast, what we've been reading for the last quarter year. So the big stuff was I went and saw Pet Sematary and Shazam as a double feature at the drive-in last night. So that was big. I watched Umbrella Academy. I'm halfway through Preacher comic book that you loaned me. I have read so much for Chapter Chaps, and we've got 3 or 4 different book club groups getting ready to record episodes for that. But all of them are just kind of waiting till their day comes up to record. So I just read a whole lot, and now I'm just kind of I don't know, kind of ready for a couple of those. I feel like there was something else that was big. I watched a whole lot of Venture Brothers. I think that was the other thing.
Oh, my media stuff. Can't really remember a lot of it. But recently, I got the DC Universe subscription, and I watched some Titans. Titans is bad. Turns out.
Is it even good bad, or is it just bad?
I want to finish season 1 to see what happens, but it's pretty bad. It's bad. Doom Patrol is amazing. What else? They have a bunch of DC Nation shorts on there, and those have varying levels of quality, but I've been enjoying a lot of them. So even if they're bad, they're like a minute long each. So those are fun. What did I also dip into? I dipped into Teen Titans Go.
Oh, yeah.
Which
have you ever watched that before?
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
I want to watch all of those.
They're so good. I want to watch the movie at some point.
Oh, I watched part of one episode and just wasn't really feeling it. And it might have just been that story, or it might have been the mood I was in. I don't know. But I watched the trailer for the movie and I went, I'm finding a lot of this pretty funny. So I'm going to give it another shot. And I'm glad I did, because it was actually really funny.
I feel like the first couple episodes of the series were kind of rocky. I don't know. They're almost more like pilot episodes where they're kind of trying to get the idea out. And as soon as they find their character balance or like stride, I feel like it just gets really even.
Yeah. So I'll probably continue on with that. And I'm just trying to consume all the DC Universe content I can until the subscription's over. Yeah, I've been trying to I started up Young Justice. I need to like watch that and Teen Titans, the not comedy one, for prep for our RPG stuff.
I want to actually go through and watch Teen Titans. I caught it off and on, but I need to actually like see.
I think I've only actually fully seen one season.
Yeah, see, I thought I'd watched a lot of that, and I think I've only seen a little bit.
It was back when I did not have Cartoon Network, so I was buying the DVDs after they were out, and I think I only bought the first season.
Oh, man.
I was big into buying shows on DVD.
What I used to do was, after I got my paycheck, I put most of it in the bank, and I took like 25% in high school, and I'd drive to Borders, or Hastings. I'd drive up to Hastings and just go through their discount VHS box, like, bin.
Oof.
And I would just pull random, like, VHS copies of a couple episodes of an anime and just see what was good. It was usually terrible.
See what was good. Not much.
Nope.
So how do we want to structure this? We have questions we've written, we have questions people have written, and we have some questions that actually audio was sent in for.
Yeah, so we've got 4 questions that are audio. Do we want to break those up and just do them every couple of questions?
I guess.
Like, do you want to start off with Ian's first question?
Hey guys, Ian here. I've got a few questions for you. What happened to Eugene, Quentin? What did you do to him? He appeared in a story, oh gosh, I can't even remember which episode it was in, but a character referenced something that happened to Eugene, and it was pretty mysterious and did not sound like a good thing. And what did you do to my precious baby?
Okay, so...
Eugene. What happened to Eugene?
That was Ian sending in that question. Thank you, Ian. We came up with that character with Ian, part of the Swords group.
Oh, yeah.
And then I referenced them in a story with Tree Man, is what I'm calling him, Rainbow Ranger. I don't know. That character never had a name.
Yeah, so it was Eugene Newbie, hotshot newbie to Swords, trying to prove themselves. Just know about the world from forums. What makes heroes better than normal heroes? Tries using a Hyperion seed. Those are our notes from episode 17, Sword.
And the last reference to Eugene was in my Tabula Rasa sequel. One of my Tabula Rasa sequels.
One of the many.
3 weeks ago we were attacked. It was those damn conspiracy nuts again. This time they didn't burn down everything down. This time we took care of them real good. Last time I took pity on Eugene. This time I bet Eugene wishes I hadn't.
Oh, but he can still wish that he hadn't. So that means he's still alive?
Maybe. Or maybe he was killed so gruesomely here that...
that he's a ghost?
That Eugene wishes... Like, Eugene in those moments wish he had died before this moment and died in their previous encounter. I actually already know what's happening to Eugene, and Ian will just have to tune in to find out.
It's awful.
I can't reveal what... it came to me the other day, what happened to Eugene. And,
okay, so you actually have an answer.
Yeah, no. I actually legit haven't. I don't know if this was going to come up in a question, but one of the things I find hard about our question answer sessions at the end of different episodes is some of the obvious questions are like, well, what happens next? Or what does this mean? And sometimes I have an idea. Sometimes I don't. But I kind of like the text to just be what it is until it's further elaborated on in more text. Like, it feels cheap to say, like, if we had a Q&A at the end of that one, it feels cheap to say, well, Eugene died, of course. Or Eugene was tortured, or Eugene was turned into a tree, or whatever happened to Eugene. Like, if I knew, it feels weird to say that I knew. So I feel like sometimes in our Q&A sessions, I feel a bit wishy-washy. And sometimes it is because I'm wishy-washy. But sometimes it's because I don't want to be the authority in like a weird out of text moment.
Right.
But this time I actually do know what happened to Eugene, and I can't say. Because it will turn up sooner or later.
You made him into a turnip?
Yep.
Okay.
Eugene Turnip.
All right. Well, then we've got our first question. What was your favorite story that I wrote?
Let me think about all the stories Daniel wrote. This is why you wrote down answers.
This is why.
So the first is just read the first question as written, and then you can answer it also, instead of posing it to me.
Favorite of the other person's stories? I said, and this is hard, but Tabula Rasa, Me Redo.
Which Tabula Rasa one was that?
So that is the one with Battle Maiden fighting Ronnie Rage, and she's getting her tattoos redone. I just thought that was a really fun episode that introduced a lot of fun elements, and it's just cheery and thoughtful. It was hard, though, because Birthdays is right up there. Your one with Mittens.
Okay, so I'm looking through your stories, trying to pick one out, and I notice you have a full Bison and Wisp book. You've got one that says Trilogy 1.
That was a pre-double issue Amy Dangerous project idea I had.
I'm just perusing through your stories here, and I notice you've written 5 to 10 books, full-length novels written in our double-issue universe, and they're actually all up on Amazon already?
Yeah,
I'm way behind on the...
Yeah, see, I did nothing while we were on break, except write several books. No, whenever we first started, I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to write these as like a book. So I'll just go ahead and plan out my Bison Wisp stories for like the next 6 months. And then we changed our format a little bit. So it's like, oh, I guess I actually have to like think through this each time.
See, I really like... I'm torn between a couple right now.
Oh, it's hard.
Why did I write these questions? Because I knew I have a problem with the term, like, what's your favorite blank? Because it's very hard to choose a thing. So let me just go over the thoughts in my head that are less formed than like a singular thing. I really love Cafe Infinity.
Okay.
Because of how much world building and just random characters you introduce in a single story. I really like Cliffhangers because it felt like a very good setup. Did introduce a lot of characters there also, but like the build up to like the mystery.
Yeah.
And what was the other one I had? Underworld. I really like Underworld.
Oh yeah.
That one's just fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. Those are my triumvirate.
Nice.
Oh wait, no, never mind. I've remembered. It's Avalanche Story Early Retirement. That's my number one. Sorry. I forgot about that one. That one does all of those things in one story. And it's my so favorite. Ridiculous. I forgot. Turns out I do have a favorite one. Is that one?
Well, so for favorite of our own stories, I put early retirement. But for listening to, because I had a whole lot of fun doing the voice for that.
Oh, yeah. That's something I can't fully comment on some of yours. I don't know if I've fully listened to every one of your stories and the final end product of it.
That's fine, because I don't like listening to my own voice on some of those. Man, well, which one was it? Oh, the Grand Calamity story. My voice for one of the characters, I can't remember his name right offhand, but it sounds like Pidge from the original Voltron, and it's bad. It's not my favorite.
Let's see. My favorite of my own might be the one where Michonne dies.
That was pretty good.
Oh, I really like creating the Tonks in that one story. That one was maybe the funnest one to write.
Oh, yeah.
The one where I follow up the sequel to the Michonne one, the first Michonne one.
So that was Empty Space, the one that's all a dream. That was the most fun for me to write.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember that one.
Even though some of the elements or some of the story things I don't think quite worked, I just had fun doing the little dream jokes and like foreshadowing things.
Yeah. I went, Daniel, you have all of this wrong. Oh, it's a dream. Okay.
Yeah.
Like all of your facts here are wrong. Why is any of this? Which is it was hard to know because sometimes you introduce weird continuity things and I go, okay, that if I actually think about it, it works, but it initially goes against the way I thought the continuity was in like what was essentially a blank space.
Yeah.
You just kind of make assumptions to paper over those gaps. And sometimes Daniel fills in those gaps with his own assumptions, and they're wildly different from my own.
With loose crazy goo. I didn't say that right. Loose crazy glue to fill in those gaps.
Loose crazy goo.
Goo.
Which is the least favorite of your own stories?
See, I had trouble with this because the breaking out Grand Calamity story, I do not like listening to.
I think mine is Origins. My spaceship crash one that covers like Norman Moss's origins.
Oh.
I feel like it didn't add a whole lot to the universe, and I didn't like how, like, I think I kind of I always put off all my work. I'm procrastinating, but I think I put this one off more than other things, and did not. I feel like it just didn't do a whole lot. Like, there's some ideas I like there, but this story could have done more to further the universe.
Yeah. I think, as far as just writing my story for the follow-up, Bandage on a Broken World, it's that Amy Dangerous story where she just comes back to Earth. It was, like, just a monster to write in general, because I got all my facts wrong, like, twice. And then it's, like, trying to piece in Gold Star and Cup Hands and Michonne, and all of that was just really awkwardly, I don't know, the whole thing just felt like it took so much longer to write than normal. I think it seems fine reading back through it, but I can't separate all the problems I had writing it from the story now, so even the title, I'm just like, that was not a great title.
Cool. Should we do an Ian question?
Hey, Daniel, how's that wiki coming?
I don't know how that wiki's doing, actually. I don't think I've looked at it since we spent a lot of time one night. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, it's still up there. It's double-issue.fandom.com/wiki/double-issue_wiki.
How do we get a more usable name?
I think we put it on a domain of our own. So, to answer Ian's question...
No.
So, we built out a lot one night, and then I think you read ways to make it better, and we started like redoing it, and then we haven't worked on it much since then.
0% done. We decided upon a format for the episodes, how they should look on the wiki, and then we were going to start populating them, and then just didn't. I mean, I should just have like one day a week where that's what I do for a couple hours, and it would eventually get done.
Yeah.
But
if I could get my butt in gear, it'd be a good, like, first thing in the morning, go add a new entry on there.
Yeah.
If I just did that every day, it would be built out pretty quick, but
yeah,
so that's how it's going.
Yeah, we have a page for rooftops that has a format. And
I think we made the template though, so we can.
Yeah, we should get on that.
Yeah.
It would be good for us to review all the stuff anyways. So maybe from here on, I'll commit to doing one a week, like breaking down an episode on the wiki. And if you do that too, we should surely be caught up at some point.
Yeah.
So also commit. Come on.
Yes. All right.
All right.
A page a week.
We feel very seen. Thanks, Ian. All right. What's our next question?
Favorite character. I think my top overall favorite character is based on a lot of different like features and requirements. I think it's going to be Mittens. And I think the reason it's Mittens is he just is a wild mystery that just dropped in one time. And that's it.
What were your different criteria?
I mean, like, when I just think of characters, which characters come to mind first? And those were, like, Amy Dangerous and Aqualion and Belphegor. Like, those three kind of popped to mind first.
Let's see, Ava Lancer, lots. I'm fond of.
Northwest Sentinel.
No.
I also think that because, like, Amy Dangerous has a lot of stories that she's been in, and she's tied to a lot of the world lore, that she feels really weighty, whereas Mittens is just a pop-in, one-time episode character and popped out. So I feel like there's less, like, baggage to consider.
Can my favorite character be Paper Woman?
The old woman that Kate's character murdered in cold blood?
Yeah.
I mean...
I don't know. I really love a lot of the villains we made in the villains episodes.
Oh, man. Well, and that was...
Tree Set Reggie might be my favorite.
Really, honestly, this question is too hard to choose between.
Yeah. There's too many good answers.
I think my honest answer might be Belphegor, just because I like her general life attitude. Her power set's cool. I like the stories I've written with her in them. Like,
okay, I think actually my favorite character might be Eon.
Oh, okay.
Because I really love doing that bit with him.
Where he just
and
pops up.
Because he has like completely overshadowed. Do you know who we wrote Eon in response to?
Oh, yeah. Who is it?
They were a villain to the Speedster Speed Dial. Well, Speed Dial is good. Eon completely overshadows them.
I forgot Speed Dial exists.
I always remember Speed Dial.
I'm gonna have to dial it up to 9.
Ooh. What? Oh, okay. I remember. I was looking at this. Our most comprehensive list of characters is actually our notes for the villains episode.
Yeah, we go back to that one quite a bit.
And I was looking at Miss Mist's villains. And I went, what are these? And I think it's like her demon.
Oh, yeah. They're just like random letters almost.
Yeah. Histerphon. I went, who is Histerphon? What does this mean?
I just looked up like a demon name generator and those came up.
But yeah, if we ever have that wiki going, we'll have an easier list of characters to follow. It should populate a whole thing. So yeah, I think I'm going with Eon.
Nice. That was my other criteria, was a character I think about without looking at a list. I wanted to just get that off the dome.
Yeah, thought. I think the most ones that pop up to me are like the Amy Dangerous, of course.
Yeah.
And I think about the Magic team a lot. I think about John Morris and Klepsymia.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to do more with Klepsymia because there's so many characters I want to do more with that we haven't really delved into yet that I think we'll be diving into in the future with our new plans.
Yeah.
Do you listen to music while writing?
I do.
What kind?
I do listen to music while writing. Lots of kinds. Usually, like, I just put on, like, a Pandora list of, like, alternative rock. And usually it's, like, bluesy, progressive rock. But I try to kind of mix it up depending on what kind of story I'm writing. So I can kind of align those two. So, like, maybe movie soundtracks or dubstep for, like, exciting epic stories. and then usually like indie music or one of those music to study to playlists on YouTube if it's like a funny or like heartfelt story.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
My default writing type stuff is like ambient, electronic-ish type stuff. That's like the most basic default.
Right.
Of just like sort of chill music. But sometimes I get into like what you were saying, like what the story is about. I did like heavy metal music with the Battle Maiden story. What was the other story where I remember doing different music? I did like Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack for the space one I did.
I was gonna say I put on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack and other assorted kind of music of that kind a lot because it's songs I'm familiar enough, but I don't sing along with.
Yeah.
So it's the right mix of words for me.
Yeah. What else we got?
We speak about inspirations of different stories sometimes. Are there more foundational inspirations that carry you through out all your stories / this whole project?
Well phrased question, Daniel. Yes.
Was that a question from me?
Like my biggest inspiration for maybe this whole project is Invincible by Robert Kirkman, the guy that did Walking Dead.
Okay. I didn't realize that was the same guy.
Ooh, they're planning a movie? Oh, that's news from a year ago, so who knows? Invincible is a wonderful comic, and he builds basically this whole. Oh, the comic's finished now? Oh shoot, I need to read it all now because I was caught up on it for a while, and then I just could not keep up any longer.
I picked up a single random issue, and it was like the first time I cried reading a comic. And as a very young teen, I was like, "Oh, comics are good, actually."
That was a big inspiration because what he's doing with that is a similar thing, except he's doing one story and creating this whole comic book world with it. And I think what struck me when I was reading that years ago was how well he did the thing of making it feel like a whole comic book world from just one thing.
Yeah.
So that's my larger project inspiration.
Nice. My inspiration that I carry through for as far as tone and pathos while I'm writing is that scene from, I think it's All-Star Superman, where he like talks somebody off a ledge. Like that kind of empathy-driven, character-driven story. I've tried to kind of channel as much of that as I can. That's why I think of things like Steven Universe and like Young Justice have really inspired a lot of the ways I think about that.
Yeah, I think broader brush inspirations for me, it's like Grant Morrison, because I like it weird. He does weird stuff, and I like to do weird stuff.
I think in much wider strokes, just McElroy podcast kind of inspired me anyway to want to be like, I want to definitely make something. I didn't know what that something would be, but I think that's when I first was driven enough to start making something like a podcast.
And my inspiration is me, because I had the idea to make a book that was like a Wikipedia article that you could click around on, and that became in some ways this.
Oh, okay.
I think I've talked on that before. I like the idea of that. And we can, if we ever get around to making that wiki, we could make basically this project into a version of that.
Yeah. That just reminds me, have you heard of SCP?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kate got really into that.
Yeah.
But it feels like that. So here's a question from our good friend of the show, John.
John from Chapter Chaps?
Yeah.
Galaxy of Fear edition?
John Fitzgerald from Chapter Chaps.
The Galaxy of Fear season.
Yeah, should be season 2.
What's he doing?
He asked, favorite Marvel and or DC hero?
I've long held Daredevil is my favorite Marvel superhero. But that was like my default as a kid. And I don't know if I've dug into whether that's still accurate. So what's yours for Marvel? Well, I'm thinking about that.
So it's hard for Marvel because I feel really influenced by just whichever Marvel movie it was I watched last. But I feel like consistently, I like anything that has the Hulk in it, even if it's bad. So I think that's my answer.
I think I still like Daredevil the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like I've been reading the new Daredevil as it comes out, and I've been enjoying that. I have like a gap in my knowledge. Like I was really into it, and then I just stopped getting comics currently. So that's my project on Marvel Unlimited right now, is to read basically the whole modern Daredevil run. So everything from like Kevin Smith and Brian Bendis forward to now, where I am current. But yeah,
I will say I really like all of the mystical heroes for Marvel. So like Thor and Doctor Strange and Hulk, and they usually get bundled up together, it seems like, in a lot of things. But I like the weirder kind of mutant and magic stories.
Yeah. DC?
Oof.
My default on DC is Batman and or The Flash.
Growing up, it was Green Lantern. I really loved Green Lantern. I don't know if that's true anymore.
I am really loving the current Green Lantern comics by Grant Morrison.
You gave me a stack of those to read.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten into them yet.
They are great. And I cannot wait for the, I think it's later this year, N.K. Jesmin is writing something called Far Sector.
Oh.
About a young woman of color Green Lantern out on her own.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I saw like a news thing about that. That looked really cool.
N.K. Jemisin. Yeah, it's called Far Sector, and I'm waiting on that. Oh yeah, I really like the Doom Patrol of Grant Morrison. So just Grant Morrison is my answer, I guess. Is my favorite DC superhero. No, I've been binging Animal Man on the DC Universe app because that's by him, and it's also leaving the DC Universe service.
Oh.
But they're leaving Doom Patrol on there because of the show, I believe.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and those are really good too. So, but I don't know if I would say they're my favorite characters.
I think my favorite DC hero that I can answer more stably, though, is Batman Beyond. Like, I like the Terry McGinnis Batman just because, I don't know, I like his background of being just kind of more of a normal person that's just good and does Batman rather than I'm a rich guy that became a ninja. I don't know. It's hard to beat Batman because he's pretty good. I wanted to add on to this, and I forgot to put it in our document. But who are your favorite villains from Marvel and DC?
Can we say least favorite because they're evil and we hate them?
I think what you mean to say is villains are our favorites because they're beautiful and we want to make out with them.
So the worst for me is Lex Luthor, because he's still 40 cakes.
That is pretty evil.
I don't know. Let me see.
I kind of really like, I like the old Joker, like the Batman the Animated Series Joker. But then I think in general, just as a character, I really like the Riddler.
Yeah, I do like the Riddler.
Because he does bad things, but he always, I don't know, is always making a point, or it's not just about money. I don't know. There's something fun about that. Also, Jim Carrey Riddler's great.
I don't like Lex Luthor, but I do want to... Did I tell the story how I didn't know why Lex Luthor was a bad guy and I annoyed my dad when we were watching Smallville? Because I would, I think every episode I was like, him and Clark are buddies. What does he do? What does he do to become his nemesis? How even?
Does that get answered on Smallville? I didn't finish.
I didn't either. I don't know. His dad was the worst guy for a while. Yeah. And I think it's just capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know, he has a hatred for Alien. Feels betrayed about... I think his dad dies in an accident and he blames Superman or something. Oh. My favorite villain. I'm trying to think of all the things I can think of. Yeah. Favorite villain that redeemed himself, the Pied Piper guy in the Flash ones.
Oh yeah, Pied Piper, the internet company.
What's his name? Yeah, I think it's Pied Piper. I want to specify the Flash I like is Wally West, and I think they don't do well by him in the comics. I grew up in a time when I was reading comics that for a while it was like Kyle Rayner is one of the Green Lanterns and Wally West is the Flash that I was actually reading. I didn't really experience much of Kyle Rayner, but I did feel betrayed when they did one of their events and they went, oh yeah, I guess Wally West is gone now. It's Barry Allen as the Flash. And oh yeah, I guess event happened and Hal Jordan is back as Green Lantern. And I went, okay, guys. And I was like, this is a bunch of people that grew up with them as their Flash and Green Lantern and wanted to reinstate them. I feel like that's what it felt like. I was like, I hate this. It feels like a bunch of old people coming in and saying, actually, our stuff was better. So I was there for the tail end of Wally West as the Flash. I know there's been a bunch of changes since, but I was there when he had like a whole event about the death of the Flash and such.
I never got into X-Men comics because I watched the TV show and loved it. And then when I tried to get into the comics, I think I went to some comic store and they're like, well, if you want the Ultimates, it's this line and it changes these storylines. But then if you want the good stuff, it's like the older ones. And then there's also these new ones. I don't know. There was like a lot going on whenever I tried to get into X-Men comics. I was like, I'm just gonna step away because it felt like that. Like they kept trying to bring back the characters they liked rather than just keep going. I just realized I don't know if I know of a Marvel villain really that stands out.
In the movies, they don't.
Yeah, that's... Oh, I forgot, because there's like Galactus. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what villains I like.
Huh.
Stilt Man. There's my Marvel one.
Is Glider Man Marvel?
No idea.
Oh, that might be DC. Oh, no, Glider Man is Marvel.
What are they?
Let me see. Their Wikipedia says Glider Man's Uncle Glenn was murdered by Ben Parker, leading him to pursue updraft-based justice. But he was prevented from killing Uncle Ben by Slider Man, who revealed that Uncle Glenn had been hired to kill Spider-Man's Uncle Sven.
That sounds terrible.
The two were interrupted by a healthcare provider man, who revealed that Uncle Sven had killed healthcare provider man's Uncle Ken.
Are you reading this
Albert
for
Camus.
Is he in Earth 617? That's not the main universe.
So I think I heard about Glider Man was just showing up in the background of other comics.
Oh, okay. I see. Play as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is it just an universe where everything starts with a GL?
I don't know.
Zack
Zack
Snyderman. Oh, this sounds like it's a parody universe.
Oh, okay. I forgot Thanos.
Albert Camus, The Outsider Man. Yeah.
I like Thanos. I forgot that. I read his comic. All his comic lines are always pretty fun. I still don't like his motivation, but his space pirate background is always fun to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you made a character based on a favorite hero from Marvel or DC? Also from John.
All of my characters are stolen.
Amy Dangerous is pretty much lifted directly from Power Girl. Barney Steele was Iron Man, but if a car mechanic, not a super rich billionaire.
Well, he didn't really do much Iron Manning, did he? He did the one fight, right?
That's what the idea came from, though.
And then his daughter was basically Ironheart.
Yeah. But that was my beginning point, was like, well, what if Tony Stark wasn't born rich, but still did stuff?
Then he'd be crushed under the weight of capitalism.
Pretty much.
Oh, I guess Hawk and Spectre is based on Hawkman and Hawkgirl, a comic I read around 2005 that talked about like them being like reincarnated time and time again. There was like a Hawkman and Hawkgirl in Old West times was part of their storyline, but it was like lovers' souls reuniting time and time again throughout reincarnations. That was kind of that idea, but like a twist on it.
Okay.
I mean, Aegis having a base in space is directly related to the Watchtower in Justice League.
We lifted Aegis pretty much from Justice League.
But I mean, every superhero universe has that the team kind of dynamic.
I do like what Marvel has done with the Avengers, where it doesn't feel like feels like it's more loose. Like, I feel like in the cartoon and some of the comics, it's like a very structured, like, these are the Avengers, and it's almost like a governmental body. And in the movies, it's like, yeah, we get together sometimes and do stuff.
There was the Miss Mist, vaguely based on part of Danny the Street from Grant Morrison. Law Warrior is, of course, based off of She-Hulk. Of course.
Of course.
It wasn't really, but the Monstars idea is sort of related to the Frankenstein Agents of Shade. That's what I had in my head while we were doing them. That was collaborative with Beth, but that's the images I had in my head while we were making those.
Oh, okay.
It's mainly like a lot of side inspiration things, like, ooh, that's an interesting thing.
Like, Amy and Barney were two things that I had thought about before the show that were like, while I was consuming media of those two characters, I was like, oh man, what if though? Yeah. Ready for another Ian question?
Yeah, let's go.
Are you guys still okay down there? Down in Oklahoma?
I don't know how to answer. I mean,
next.
I'm personally okay, but I feel like Oklahoma as a state has some issues.
Yeah.
We just okayed upping the speed limit, having even more loosely defined laws about guns.
And weed.
And weed, that was a positive. And then we're also trying to defund all of our public education.
Well, that's just a normal day in Oklahoma.
This is true. We're trying to sell off all of our prisoners to private jails, which doesn't seem good.
If you privatize everything, it doesn't matter how big the government is.
We made everything work terribly. Obviously, we need to privatize it. Privatizing it made it awful. Well, we'll never know if it was privatization or...
I hate... yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We elected one Democratic senator.
Woo!
No, wait, representative, not a senator. Oof.
Oh, yeah.
That would be hard.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Our senators are awful.
In the state representative, I had to choose between a libertarian and a Republican for my local area. It's like, well, this is fun.
One of our past representatives or senators became the EPA chief, and now is becoming an energy fuel lobbyist.
He was the Oklahoma State Attorney General, Scott Pruitt, and well, is that right?
Yeah,
I said it so confidently.
I don't know if that's what he did, but no, he was terrible when he was here.
Oklahoma Attorney General. I was correct. See?
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's our claim to fame. You know what? When Donald Trump said drain the swamp, I went, that was a good idea. And then he just didn't.
He did the exact precise opposite.
I didn't ever believe he would, because he is a swamp monster like Norman Moss. But
you know what? Norman Moss, though, was more well-read. So
there's some ideas Trump said, and I went, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But it turns out he's a big liar also.
Well, he said he'd fix the tax codes, and he fixed them so that he got more money.
Yeah, and he was like, you know what people want to hear? I want to give you the best healthcare ever. And then he has done everything to get rid of all healthcare.
Yeah, this is the first year I've ever owed taxes, and it took my entire life savings to pay them.
Yeah.
So I hope this year's good. Please support our Patreon.
But yeah.
So Quentin, how do you start a story?
I really have to have like some seed that I'm starting from. So by the time I'm actually writing it, if I have like nothing at all and I sit down to write, my first step is usually just kind of like spitball some ideas onto the paper and just things that, because we're working from prompts here. So I'd start by just listing out things that might be cool that fit that prompt. And then sometimes I stumble upon something. Sometimes those ideas just have to sit in my mind for a while. And then I just kind of like think on them away from the computer. And I try to come up with the broad structure of the thing. And then once I have like actually what I want, then I start writing, and then half of that's bad. And then I can go through and find what the story actually is.
Usually, I try to think of where I want to end. Like, I try to think of what is the action I want to describe. And I try to start as close to that event as possible. And then I usually write like 500 to 700 words before I find the actual story starting spot. So I just cut all that out, and then right to that end point.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did for like the series overall, and then it's gotten derailed a couple of times. Because I was like, yeah, that's my endpoint for season 1. That's what I'm working towards. And then the way we were structuring like the prompts, we got into like the first or second episode. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do it that way. Which has been good. Like, it's been good to get me out of that frame of thinking.
Yeah.
Has any moment given you chills so far?
Maybe my Amy Dangerous depression story, because it was about depression.
Yeah.
Wrapping up the trilogy with the Hyperion seeds.
Oh, yeah.
Felt special. And probably the one where Cup Hands murders Michonne.
I was going to say Michonne died.
Yeah.
I think we were already on the call, and you're like, I want you to read it while we're on, so I can hear your reaction. I was just,
yeah.
Such a left turn.
Yeah.
I know we just did it, but the showdown, I really did get chills from that one.
That was a good one.
I feel like I had the same reaction to events that Fire Tiger had, which is, what? No.
Also, you did a reading with some voices in there that I have to comment on now. The first time, I don't know if any listener had this experience, but Aqualion says something to Fire Tiger, and then Fire Tiger in a gruff voice repeats the last words as a question, and it was exactly like a Metal Gear Solid Snake experience where he just says, "What?" Like the thing you just said, like nanomachines. I was just
Gear.
Yeah. I was just, oh my, we're in Metal Gear Solid now.
My outtakes on that reading are so bad. I also scared Kate recording that because I yelled out, hands in the air, and she's like, is there somebody outside? So I wrote this next question, and I don't know if it was as easy as I thought to answer. I spent way too much time trying to think of this. Who is a writer that inspires you to write? Oh no, I wrote it. Who is a writer that inspires the way you write? And I think that answering that is too hard. But I also was just going to say inspires you.
I mean, comics wise, I'm inspired by Graham Morrison and Robert Kirkman and Ed Brubaker, and probably some other ones I can't think of.
See, I think writing wise, anytime I read anything by Daniel Handler / Lemony Snicket, I'm immediately like, I want to go write 20 pages right this instant.
Yeah, there's actually a moment where I finished one of his adult books and I wrote a thing right after.
But I don't think in any of the double issue universe I've written anything in that voice.
No.
Because whenever I think about writing double issue, I think of like action movies or cartoons, and I don't know. So I think the only writer I can think of from that kind of thing is maybe Josh Whedon.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to make sure everything. I don't do it always, but I try to make sure there's like a voice to the thing I'm writing. Like the cliffhanger one was sort of in like a documentary biography type style. And a few other ones had like a specific type of thing they were doing. But I always try to think of like how this story is being written. And I don't know where I get that from. I think steal it from a bunch of different writers. Like the William Goldman with The Princess Bride is written in a very structured way of like, this is this is their story and I'm adding on to it and like abridging it and telling you what you've missed and my own anecdotes. And that's like being mindful of whose voice is writing what in that book.
Yeah.
Probably helps some. And they're like, Alan Moore does a lot of like weird stuff with his writing where this one's written as a whatever, and Grant Morrison does I keep bringing him up, but there is an issue of his Batman run I was reading that is just like basically a full-on prose story about the Joker instead of being a comic. I don't know what was going on with that one, why it was in there, but it was interesting. But like doing weird different things with how things are framed is very interesting to me. And I do get inspiration from Daniel Handler on that with the Lemony Snicket books being written in that person's voice. But yeah, what have you been reading lately? Like as a, not just like a, what have you been reading as a writer? You know, like the different text. Who coined that? Readerly text and writerly text?
I don't know who coined that phrase. But
Roland Barthes.
Oh.
What writerly texts have you been reading?
I've been reading Brandon Sanderson a whole lot. I've been working through Mistborn, and I really like the way he structures action scenes. The pacing of how the Mistborn fight, the Allomancers fight in those scenes are just so quippy and fast, and I feel like I know what's going on, and then I look back at the text and it's like, he said very little, but I filled in a whole lot of gaps with how the action would turn out.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to do that.
That reminds me of a quote from Author Talk with Patrick Rothfuss, the Name of the Wind guy. Have you read that one?
I have not yet. Is it on?
It might be on your thing, because I haven't.
I was about to admit to a crime. I was about to see if it was in your books.
Daniel got an illegal Kindle, and no, you should, because I am like half of the way through, and I keep not reading it, and it's very good.
Okay, I'll check that out.
It's so well written and easy to read. I know that people have some problems with some of the stuff, and I haven't gotten into most of what they have problems with because I think some of it's in book 2. But in Google Author Talks, he said, I get compliments on, I don't know the specifics, but I get compliments on a scene where a character fights some pirates or something. And he goes, well, I say thank you, but also I didn't write that scene. You wrote that scene. You wrote that in your head, how cool that was. Because I wrote up to that point, and then I wrote after that point, but I didn't write how cool that fight was. You did that. And I take a lot of inspiration from that quote of, like, this whole project is ellipses.
Yeah.
It's referencing things that didn't happen, that become like people that listen are going to have different ideas of what happened at the different events that we've alluded to but haven't done yet. We've sketched out the history of League of Elemental Animals, but people have different ideas of the different adventures Atomic Butterfly got up to.
Oh yeah.
And so that quote inspires this project.
I was going to say, I also read a Discworld novel. I read Small Gods.
I read Pyramids.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read Pyramids.
I know which one you read.
I read Pyramids. Small Gods is the second part of that, or second story in that series. But I know Terry Pratchett has a very particular voice and has a very particular idea in the Discworld novels. But what I really liked reading in Pyramids was, the way he handles characters talking is pretty great. Just like the naturalness of how they talk to each other. But I walked away from Pyramids with, I like the way he describes things the way you'll get it, rather than trying to describe it from that world point of view. So like in my fantasy book, I try to make everything described in a way that is particular to that universe. And instead, Terry Pratchett was just like, yeah, it's like this one joke from like Monty Python. And it's just, oh, yeah, you can just do that. You can just, whatever way is going to translate to your audience is fine too.
Okay, cool. I need to read more Terry Pratchett.
I thought there was something else I read recently that's been influencing me a bit.
I've been reading All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders.
Oh, yeah.
And it is amazing. So go read that. It's sort of superhero-esque.
Oh.
It's like a fantasy, magical, sci-fi world that is like layered on top of the real world kind of deals, which is what comics are to me. The real world plus a bunch of magic and sci-fi. And Italo Calvino.
Oh, did you finally get Cosmo Comics?
No.
Oh.
I just take a lot of inspiration from If on a Winter's Night a Traveler.
Yeah. No, that book is great. I guess I have been thinking a lot recently about Stephen King writing because I really love how he'll take very normal things and make it scary. So, like, I'm just trying to think of examples, like
a car.
Gunslinger, a car hitting you comes up a lot in his works, and that is a very scary, real thing.
A dog,
a desert, a clown,
undead pets.
That was like the scariest thing in Pet Sematary. Spoilers for Pet Sematary if you haven't watched or read any of it in the last 20, 30 years. Is just the normal things that happen before the supernatural stuff. Like the psychological normal terrors that you just have in a day are pretty bad. And then it's like, oh yeah, and there's some spooky stuff happening. Like I didn't realize how many hang-ups the mom had in her own life, and how like there was this kind of in the background, like she is going through some things. And then as an adult now, I'm thinking, oh, that plus the spooky stuff is really bad. When I watched Pet Sematary, the original as a kid, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of boring. And I was like, oh, shoot, man. What has been the hardest part of writing this project for you?
Remembering all the dang characters.
Yeah, keeping our universe right.
Yeah, and you know what would help with that, Ian? A wiki.
A Wikipedia. Man. No, if we ever lose that villains list, we're kind of terrible.
We'll have to go through and listen to them all and create a wiki.
Ugh, I know.
I really want to have the wiki done because it would be a rewarding thing to look at.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that.
I think outside of just keeping stuff together, for me, it's just consistently writing on the project.
Yeah. It's doing it week by week is a pretty fast pace.
Yeah.
Like even though we had a week between the story episodes, we were cutting it close a lot of times.
Me, usually up to the hour.
Well, I do it too. I procrastinate. Part of it could be solved by me not procrastinating as much. I think 2 weeks to write a 1,500 word story isn't too bad, but there's a lot because so it's 2 weeks to write a story, but we also had a week in there we had to plan in our world builds, and recording takes a substantial amount of time because we talk for hours and hours and then edit down to about one.
Yeah. When editing the stories, editing the writing itself takes a while, but then editing our reading of the story, I feel like takes even longer.
Yeah, because you want the right take. And
yeah, I feel like with the in-between bits, we make mistakes, and it's fine.
Josh, do you want to read your question? Josh just woke up.
Nope, I'm just here to lurk and listen.
Come on, Josh. Ian read his.
Are there any scenes or stories that you have wanted to tell, but haven't found an opportunity to fit them in yet? Are there any that you have now missed that opportunity because the timeline no longer fits, or a character has died, etc.?
Say your name, please. State your name for the record.
Everyone knows me. I'm Josh.
Josh, what?
Okay, you heard the question. Answered.
Josh R. Free.
From last week's episode where he calculated the probabilities of rolling some dice. Oh yeah, we didn't say what the odds were. I also meant to put in that intro, hey, I used Josh's voice here, but he's not in this episode. He just popped in for a bit. So it might have been surprising to people to hear you, and then you're just never there again. But did you have an answer to this question, Dina?
So there's kind of some normal stuff I think we've talked about. Like, I had some Grand Calamity stories that I built up and I wanted to do, and now I don't know if it's a good time to fit them in. I had a character named The Rook, who is Thrift Store Batman, and I think this isn't a good time to introduce another character in.
Yeah. And I mentioned I wanted to do a Cyberwolf story, and I just haven't found an opportunity to fit them in yet. But I really want to do one.
I had this scene in my head for Mammon having this whole island to himself, and he has all these like demon henchmen on the island, and they all have these giant guns, and like Amy's flying around beating them up. I have this whole scene in my head that's really cool, and it's set to Titanium, which is like David Guetta and a singer, Sia, and I have not figured out why or what happens, or like how we get there, what happens after. It's just a cool scene.
Yeah. Are there any ones that cannot work now, so that we don't spoil featured things if they come out?
I mean, Michonne's dead, so I can't do anything with him. I didn't have any ideas for him yet.
You could do past things.
Yeah. That was just the first one that
popped up. You should do some
oldies
stories.
Yeah.
That's a prompt we have wanted to do and then haven't done yet.
I had some things planned, and I think it's spoilers if I talk too much about it. But it involved later stuff, and I don't know if those will work now.
I mean, one of the ones for me is I envisioned that different color guy, the one from my first story, Tree Jesus. Originally, I was going to have them either become a supervillain or a superhero that was like Super Spectrum or something based on all their colors.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was just like the timing of when I wrote the follow-up to that was just at a time that the story went a different way and kind of tied into her like cosmic stuff.
Yeah. That's a good one. I think that's most of the ones I had.
Okay, cool. Bad question.
No, it's a good question. I can't think of something that's gotten like ruined. Because of the way we're doing this, it's like we're reacting to stories and world building each week.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to get ruined too much since you kind of wait till after the week to write the next part.
There was a story I had planned. There was the spaceship crash one. It was going to be about like two people guarding like the door to the multiverse or something.
Oh.
And I just didn't go with that story. I went for my worst story.
I know the opposite of this question. There was something I just didn't even dream of happening. Like, it wasn't even a possibility. And then you brought it up, and I was like, oh, okay.
Which one was that?
That's cool. And that was your follow-up to, the one that had the Tonks in it that's running. I can't remember. It's the follow-up to my spaceship one, my blank slate.
Yeah.
Because I murdered the Tonks character in that story. And then a couple of stories later, like, all right, here's their like memory keeper. And I was like, oh, this is a whole new chest of opportunities opened up here.
Yeah. I think at some point we're going to get into the larger space stuff, and I'm ready to just go wild. Because somewhat recently my eyes have been open to space can just be weird.
Yeah. That's my favorite run so far of Green Lantern was like the universe gets destroyed. And so they're like putting it back together. So there's just like one universe-sized planet or something weird. And it's just every weird, crazy thing from the DC universe all in one place while they get things sorted out. And that whole run was just, this is something I just can't fathom each issue.
Yeah. Is that it for our questions? Or did you have any more?
Do we have one more from Ian R. Buck?
Oh, do we? I forgot.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And finally, my most important question is, Can we have Quentin do that one voice all the time? Or should I say, Quentin, I challenge you to use Ronnie Rage's voice for all characters from now on.
Well, I think you're contractually obligated to use Ronnie Rage's voice from now on in all things double issue.
Yep, I guess so.
I'll answer yes for Quentin.
My lawyers have drafted a statement I will now read. Daniel Poole does not speak for Ronnie Rage. I will not abide his verbal contract because I am above the law and below the law and all around the law, but not beholden to it. Ronnie Rage out!
And no, I could not do that voice for every character forever because that was very taxing to do that voice on the one. I think I included the outtakes, but it was a very fun voice to do, and I need to do it more. And just get more into the voices in general. That's a thing that might be the hardest part of this project, of writing this project, is recording it, getting into the voices. But, yeah.
This project has made me realize that I very commonly write scenes with 5 to 6 characters in them, which is probably too many, but I like having big talking scenes with lots of people involved, and they're all saying very quick things. And now that I have to read them out, I'm noticing that and how often I switch between talkers, and that has changed my writing significantly, where I'm like, oh no, there's just 2 people in this scene talking, or 3 people, but one's kind of quiet, you know?
Yeah.
Because Fool's Errand was just woof.
And I mean, that's what you have to do. We have to write not just short stories, but short stories meant to be read aloud, which is something I could be a little more conscious of, because I'm not just writing a story. I'm writing a podcast thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I actually have one more question down here. My own question for you. What changes are coming up now for double issue?
Well, I think first of all is based on when this episode comes out in relation to the last episode, we're going to be continuing that trend and releasing bi-weekly, which in this case I think means fortnightly. Dab.
Yeet.
Fortnightly is every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whereas bi-weekly can be 2 different things. And we're not going to release 2 episodes a week. Sorry, everyone. But for now, we're going to be switching to a fortnightly release schedule while we are working on the start of season 2.
Whoa!
Which our plans for at one point we would have been in by now. Probably. Yeah. But it's going to be, I think Daniel talked about it a little bit on one of his solo episodes without my permission. No. But it's going to be us going halfway, putting our foot halfway into games because we enjoyed doing that game and interesting things come out of it.
Our Christmas and our Showdown episode really brought in a whole lot that I don't think we would have gotten with the way we've been doing things.
I think at one point I proposed this type of plan to Daniel, and he was not very on board. And then we had the Christmas episode, and I don't know if we had done the Showdown episode at that point, but I think just the Christmas episode was enough to convince Daniel to be on board for this format of we're still going to tell stories, but we're also going to start doing some more RPG stuff.
Yeah.
Which we were already going to experiment more with RPG stuff. I still have one planned in season 1 is where it needs to fit because it ties up some loose ends I had in the universe, which I had always meant to tie up, and then I found a game that perfectly might tie them up. That's the great thing about games is who knows how things will turn out from them.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes you discover an abusive relationship.
Oh, wow. Right. From Showdown.
But we're going to be fortnightly, and in addition to our Fortnite streams, we're going to be planning on season 2, which is going to be split between more the RPGs as mentioned and longer form stories.
Yeah.
So the things we haven't been able to do in our world is like go deep in on a set of characters, because we kind of have to flit around the universe to fill in the whole universe. And so I'm hoping with season 2 we're doing more deep dives with sets of characters.
Something I just realized is this will be nice for people joining in late. They could just jump in on a series
Yeah.
and listen to a whole set of stories.
Yeah, that'll be really fun to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give too much away about that. But expect to see I don't know. I had nothing for that. We want to do one based on Grand Calamity. That's something we want to dig into further. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got like half of that series, like mini-series written out.
Written?
Yeah. No.
Or, like planned.
No.
Daniel,
Half
you
of
have
it.
to let me write some on them.
Oh, I thought we were doing solo arcs.
I'm not writing a book, Daniel. That's why I needed to talk to you. That's why I wanted to talk to you about my thing, because you're going to write some of my episodes in this, because they're supposed to be longer. So
Well-
you don't have to write a whole Grand Calamity book.
Now you see why I got stuck.
Yeah. And so
Well, good.
I could help you on that one, because I need because it's not supposed to be like before our stories. We pick a prompt and then we go off to our own corners and come back and compare notes, basically.
Yeah.
These ones are going to be more collaborative. I thought Daniel was on board with.
Daniel is real dumb.
Like the first arc is supposed to be one of my making, but in that arc, Daniel will write. It'll be kind of like a TV show. Daniel will write some of the episodes, but I will be kind of like the showrunner for the arc.
Oh.
And then I'll hand off the baton to Daniel, where I will be a writer on his series. Hopefully, if he hasn't written me out. Maybe it's a whole Mr. Robot on your side of the things where you direct and write all of the episodes.
Nope, because I was real stuck.
Good.
So, good.
Glad
Quentin.
we had this conversation on air.
Me too.
But that's what you could expect is longer form, deep dive, more collaborative stories. And then switching off between that and hopefully a long form actual play type podcast. We're going to be playing Masks. And I think we're going to have some like rotating type casts, but hopefully it'll be constant enough with some of the characters that you can develop those kind of relationships that are fun to develop over an actual play where you get invested in their storylines. And then I don't know where or how that ends and us switching to different games and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I like to think of this podcast now as like a story exploration podcast. Did you know this pumpkin wrapper Funko Pop has a opposable head?
What?
It could twist all the way around.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's opposable, right? No, opposable means like move in every direction.
Yeah, like a ball joint, I think. Or like
It
ball
is a
joint
ball.
feet.
It doesn't like tilt or anything. Let me see. Opposable. Capable moving toward and touching the other digit. So it's only applicable to a thumb.
Oh. Or a knee?
Opposable.
Oh.
Capable of moving toward and touching the other digits on the same hand.
Oh, so it is just for hands.
Yeah. That's weird. You can
That
rotate
seems
the head on a pumpkin wrapper Funko Pop. All the way around. It's like a better owl.
Because opposable tail, does that just mean you can touch your tail to your fingers?
I don't think opposable tail is a thing. Okay, it seems you mean a prehensile tail.
Prehensile, okay.
And the pumpkin wrapper's head is also prehensile.
Oh. Huh.
Meaning it's able to grasp or hold objects. See, what I do when I'm writing is I use words in my story and then I Google them to make sure I have used a word right. And that's how I learn words. And I do that with tweets. I do that on Facebook. Anytime I'm writing something, I go, let me make sure I'm using this word right.
I do check synonyms a lot to make sure it's in the right group. And then I search to make sure I spelled it right.
We cannot put the link for the wiki in our show notes.
Aww.
We cannot link to a wiki that has nothing on it.
Maybe some fans will help us fill it in.
No, I mean, if they want to. I think you said it out loud.
I did.
I don't want to link to it, though.
Censor it out.
I guess we can link to it. But don't feel beholden if you have...
Don't go to this link. Don't click it.
Don't look at this.
Don't look at our shame.
But do go look at hashtag release the moon papers.
Yeah, do that. I have a recommendation this week.
Sure.
I usually try to search something cool to share, but I was just going to say, listen to Starcrawler, the band, because, like I said, I just watched Pet Sematary, and they're the end credits music, and they're just cool, and they hang out with Skating Polly sometimes, which is an Oklahoma band.
Cool. And I'll just say, go watch SNES in Excess. I'm wearing that shirt right now, so I'll go watch them on Twitch. Or I guess Cartridge Blowers. That's the name of the channel. SNES in Excess is a show on there where Matt, who's been on the show and done the Mountain episode and Amazing Richard episode.
Oh yeah.
He's playing through all the Super Nintendo games. So go check that out. Buy a shirt with the logo on it. Also, since this episode took me so long to edit and get up, you can go now check out Daniel on the Historical Hotties podcast. We'll have a link in the show notes, but you should be able to search your podcast app for Historical Hotties. Daniel guested on an episode, and I believe they talk about crime fighters. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's in my queue. So go check Daniel out over there, and I hear the podcast is very good otherwise.
The show art is by Lisa Prather. You can find her on Instagram.com/Lisa Prather Art or her website, lisapratherart.com.
And our email is doubleissueshow@gmail.com. We'll reply to you in a timely manner. If you have any questions, we'll use them in our next upcoming Q&A episode. Any emails you send to us are our intellectual property, so beware of that.
TM. You can come see the dumb things I write about and tweet about on Twitter at Gwair, GYWAIR.
And you can go read all about the moon papers on my Twitter at Quentin Pongratz.
Yeah. We got website, we got Double Issue Twitter, Double Issue Facebook, the WordPress where I put all the stories, and our Discord. You can come talk to us, mostly Quentin, because I'm terrible at being on there.
Yeah, you need to put your notifications on, because sometimes I try to talk to you through there. If you have questions any other time, come to the episode discussion spoiler thread or just the general thread and ask questions. I think we would have more questions from Ian, except sometimes we just answer them because he asks in the Discord. So go to the Discord, hang out. I get notifications at least. Our next, the song is Freeharmonics by the Freeharmonic Orchestra using Shortener's Creative Commons license. You can find it on freemusicarchive.org. And our episode is under a Creative Commons license by attribution to share alike. So you could use any part of this episode as long as you attribute us and also share it in the same manner.
Yeah.
Next week is a lie. The week after will be a story episode with probably the prompt you, or maybe it's a world build. Maybe we'll do whatever we want because it's our show.
That's right.
Q&A part 2.
This may be a 2-parter episode anyway.
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
It's very long, though.
Yeah, we've recorded for a while. Quinn, turn on your dryer again.
Yep, that's the end of our notes. Goodbye.
Double issue out.
That's not how we end these things.
The end for now. So Ian asked, how's the wiki going?
Well, we're going to splice these in.
Yeah. But, I was just,
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I could just cut out you saying that.
Yeah.
I don't have to be a dick about it.
Jeez, Quinn.